Hi, John Craig here with Performance Plus Tennis. Got a great video today for you on the forehand follow through, and this comes from a question from one of our loyal YouTube subscribers, Sebastian Santos, and he asks the question, how should I follow through on my forehand in the modern game? And we're going to address that and more in today's lesson. What is the best way to finish your forehand in the modern game? And that is an open-ended question with so many variations, and it really depends on the type of ball you're receiving and the type of ball you're playing. There is no right or wrong way. I think the key thing you want to find out is that there's a natural way to finish. So be comfortable and be natural. But there is a basic stroke that we want to really refine and make that sort of our go-to stroke. That's the classic forehand stroke where our stance is in a neutral position. And in this particular case, we're able to rotate our core into the ball. And the byproduct of that will be a finish that comes across over the shoulder. So that is the stroke that we use the most, at least initially, as our basic stroke to really get in the groove and get the feel of the forehand. And we would use that almost instinctively whenever we can get into position and rotate into the ball for a medium height ball, okay? Now, when we get into trouble and we're late and the ball comes in quickly, we may not even be able to step in, and we may just go this way, and the racket may finish in the variation finish over the head, just naturally, because if the ball comes quickly, I may not have time to make a full rotation in. I may just be able to turn and make contact, and the finish will be in a variation position. We see the pros do that all the time now as they lose time on the court, and they have to react so much quicker to the ball speed. So a lot more pros are playing the variation finish, which for some of you may not be aware of when that began, but I remember Bjorn Borg doing that in the 70s, and then Steffi Graf in the 80s was doing it, and Maria Sharapova learned that from the great Robert Lansdorp, who recently passed away. So the reverse or the variation forehand has been around a long, long time, and is really used when you're running out of time particularly, okay? Next up, if you get a high contact, you're not going to be finishing high. So you may finish high on a medium height ball and have more of a higher finish, but if the ball is up at, say, shoulder high or eye level, you can't keep going up. So your swing plane has to come around, and it actually is going to finish around the shoulder. So it's going to be up to the contact and around the shoulder. And what you want to skillfully do is you want to adapt your preparation and your swing plane to the ball's height, and therefore the finish will just naturally go where it needs to go, just without you trying to force it. I think one of the biggest problems is when we try to be too mechanical and too robotic with our strokes. And it's important that you're relaxed and fluid and you allow your strokes to evolve naturally so you become your own tennis player with your own style. So regardless of the type of ball you're playing, the height of the ball, the spin you're putting on it and so forth, one common principle is that you're going to use the power and control of your shoulder. So that means if I'm rotating in, I rotate in, and then as I'm coming into contact, I'm using the power and control of the shoulder to deliver that swing to and through the ball. If I'm going up to a high contact, I'm using the power and control of my rotation and my shoulder to play through the ball. If the ball's low, I'm not going to play in here and leave this part out of the swing. I'm actually going to deliver the swing through the shoulder, and the elbow is going to come up and away again. And we see this universally. You don't see any high-performance players that are playing with the forearm and playing down here. The power is being delivered through, and they get to a certain stage, and then they release. Well, don't let that fool you into thinking you're doing this, because this is the lever that's actually delivering the swing. Whether it's a variation forehand or a high contact, it doesn't matter. You want to get yourself in a position where you can use that shoulder to drive through the ball. And once you've done that and you've gotten out to the extension, which we've talked about before, extension, then it can bend and relax and that's where your natural style will start to take over. But if you look at the pros, regardless of their style, whether it's Medvedev or Djokovic or Alcaraz, it doesn't really matter, or Sinner, when they're coming through here, you're going to see this pattern looks almost the same, even though there's maybe a difference in the grip and a little bit of a difference in their style. You're going to see they do almost the same thing through this hitting zone, and you want to try to replicate that in your forehand as well. Another key element of the shoulder power is that it also makes a big contribution to spin. And what I mean by that is that what I don't want you to be doing is trying to move the racket from low to high by using your wrist or even your elbow. But I want you to feel the skill of allowing your racket to fall below your hand and have it rise because your shoulder is rotating as it's swinging forward. So the swing is going forward, but the shoulder is rotating, and that makes the racket move low to high. So here's the low to high. What we don't want to be doing is swinging low to high with our arm, but instead let the racket fall below and come up and over. And one of the things you can do that'll help you feel this is that when I take the racket out of my hand and I put my hand down, I literally have my thumb facing the camera. And as I'm coming up, my thumb faces vertical. So it goes from horizontal to vertical to horizontal again. And that movement is happening in the shoulder as I'm swinging forward. And that's how you want to generate your power and your spin and your control. It's going to be through the shoulder. There are coaches out there that are advocating playing with your wrists. If you're relaxed, your wrist will move incidentally by itself. But we don't want you to be trying to use your wrist to create spin or power. You're going to end up getting injured. You're certainly not going to control the ball. So learn how to use the shoulder to create your power, your control, and your spin on your forehand. Thanks so much for watching today's lesson. Get out on the court, work on these concepts. Remember, be natural. Don't worry about trying to finish your stroke in a certain particular way. Let it finish naturally by itself. Please give us a like, leave your comments down below, subscribe to the channel if you've not done so already, and stick around here at Performance Plus Tennis. We've got a lot more coming for you. Thanks again, and we'll see you in the next lesson.